Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I have been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars on SI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to march forward through yet another season together. As always, you can find our 100% free, 24/7 boots-on-the-ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you follow us on social media such as Facebook and Twitter, at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. All right, folks, welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I'm your host and beat reporter, and I am here today to talk about 3 reasons why I believe the Jaguars can and will beat the Houston Texans on Sunday. Now, I know I picked the Jaguars last week, and I know that didn't particularly age well. Though I do think, at the end of the day, the Jaguars played pretty dang good against the Bengals in a lot of ways. There was a collection of plays that doomed them. Both sides of the ball. It was a weird defensive day where, they give up a lot of points, but the defense also looked really good for like 75-80% of the game. Offensively, same thing. It looks really good for most of the game, but doesn't quite have as much production or points as maybe they should have, considering the circumstances. But I think through 8 quarters of football, the Jaguars have been the better team in all 8 of them this year. I sincerely mean that. I don't think the Bengals game, the Jaguars lost because the Bengals outright beat them. I think the Jaguars failed to make the game-winning plays and the game-changing plays in the several circumstances in which they faced them. It is because of that I think, again, and I'll go into it more on this Saturday's show, my prediction show, but I think this is a week for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There are certainly some aspects of the Houston Texans that I think are potentially troubling for the Jaguars. I think, obviously, the Brian Thomas Jr. situation. One, he's dealing with what Liam Cohen called a nagging wrist injury. He was a full participant in Wednesday's practice and then limited on Thursday. Thomas said in the locker room that it wasn't a concern, that he felt good enough to go out there and play last week. We'll see what comes of that the rest of the week, but if he does play, this is probably the most physical, I'd say, secondary in the NFL, or at least one of them. It's definitely a defense that's going to fly around, a defense that's, going to hit people. That's what they've been every single season, every game under D'Amico Ryans. Now, does that mean they're maybe an efficient defense in a lot of ways? They miss a lot of tackles? No. But it does mean that they are maybe a bad matchup for that one area the Jaguars and Brian Thomas Jr. have kind of struggled to connect this year. It's just winning those physical plays. They are a incredibly physical defense, physical secondary. We'll see, obviously, how Thomas progresses, through Friday's practice and how he looks coming out on Sunday. But that's I think a concern in terms of the Thomas and Lawrence connection for the day. Now, I think otherwise, there are some areas where the Jacksonville Jaguars clearly have some advantages over Houston. Now, one reason I think the Jaguars win the game on Sunday is I think they have an advantage up front against Houston's offense. I think Houston's offensive line is once again a mess, which isn't really a surprise. Everybody criticized the way Houston constructed that offensive line room, and for obvious reason. They have a rookie left tackle who he played good against Tampa, really struggled in week 1. A really good veteran in Titus Howard. And then the guards struggle. I know they faced some injury issues at center. But this is an offensive line that I think the Jacksonville Jaguars should be able to take advantage of. I think with the way Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen have played to start the season, their arrow is only pointing up. Their trajectory is up. And these are two guys who had good games against the Texans last year. Against, in my opinion, a better Texans offensive line. A Texans offensive line had Laramie Tunsil on it. So I think that is the biggest reason to be optimistic about the Jaguars' chances on Sunday. Simply put, I think that they have the advantage on the trenches when Houston is on offense. And I mean, you've seen the way that's affected C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is not the same quarterback he is right now that he was as a rookie when he was setting, the league on fire. I don't think there can be any disagreement about that. I think everybody sees it, everybody senses it, and they've sensed it and seen it since last season. C.J. Stroud has just not, in my opinion, been right. I think the pressure's gotten to him in terms of the pressure given up by the line. I think the hits have gotten to him. I don't think he's playing as cool, calm, and collected and as efficient as he was as a rookie. And this is a defense that can take advantage of that. I mean, I've had multiple players in the locker room just tell me that one reason they think that turnovers are happening is the scheme. A scheme lets them have vision on the quarterback. They can take advantage of bad throws due to pressure. Last game, they had their back to the quarterback pretty much exclusively. That does not seem to be the case for the Jaguars now. They much less man coverage, much less press coverage, a lot more zone coverage, reading the quarterback's eyes, and I think it has paid off. Now, another reason I think the Jaguars win the game on Sunday, I think Liam Cohen will win the chess match against D'Amico Ryans. I think D'Amico's a very good defensive mind. I think Liam Cohen's a very good offensive mind. And putting them against each other, to me, will be a fascinating battle. I mean, we've seen D'Amico and his defense in the last two games against Tampa Bay and against Los Angeles Rams play against very similar offenses to what the Jaguars run and what the Jaguars are set to run. I think ultimately, you've seen the Texans have some success, and you've also seen some areas where teams have maybe been able to, take advantage of them defensively. I think through 2 weeks, Liam's scheme and play calling have been probably the most impressive thing about the team, frankly. He has been, to me, exactly what they needed as a play caller, exactly what they needed as a schemer who, draws it up. Liam, to me, has done what the Jaguars have long needed an offensive mind to do. He's scheming guys open. They're hitting easy buttons. The running back screen game has just come alive. And, there are some aspects of the offense that have to be more consistent. Trevor Lawrence, I didn't think he played bad on Sunday, but he could certainly continue to play better. But I think if you ask me who has the advantage, just purely offense versus defense, I think Liam Cohen has the advantage over D'Amico Ryans in terms of what he can do scheme-wise. And finally, the last reason I think the Jaguars win this really important AFC South game on Sunday, I think the Jaguars will be able to run the ball. I mean, the Jaguars are averaging about 1.91, I think, yards before contact per rush. It actually might be higher, like 1.97. It's something in that range. It's a whole yard better than they were creating last year before contact. I don't know if it's Liam Cohen's scheme. I don't know if it's him and the coaching staff with new techniques. I don't know if it's just the new mentality that they've preached to the offense about being physical. But this team can run the ball. This is a Jaguars team that has succeeded against some solid defensive linemen. Are they great overall fronts? No. But they had no problem running against the front with Derek Brown. No problem running against the front with B.J. Hill. This is a Jaguars team that has stayed committed to running the ball. And to this point, everything that they've done, I believe that they will be able to run the ball on Sunday against the Houston Texans and their defensive structure. And I think if the Jaguars can do that, they will set things up for Trevor Lawrence, set things up for the screen game, and ultimately, the Jaguars, in my opinion, will come out of Sunday's game with a much-needed AFC South win.